Welcome to VNT. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. October 16, 2025. Hungary, after more than 2 decades as a member of the European Union, has made headlines by officially joining the BRICS economic bloc. This historic decision marks a turning point not only for Hungary, but for the balance of power in Europe and beyond. Hungary's move represents a dramatic break from the EU's collective foreign policy, signaling a decisive shift toward the East and away from the traditional influence of Brussels and Washington. The country is now aligning itself with emerging powers that are challenging the Western-led global order. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, long known as a maverick within the EU, has now taken his independent streak to a new level by joining a bloc led by Russia and China. Orbán has often clashed with EU leaders, and this move cements his reputation as a leader willing to defy Western expectations. Hungary's decision directly challenges the idea of a unified European foreign policy, especially at a time of heightened global tensions and uncertainty about the future of the continent's alliances. Persistent clashes with the EU over migration, rule of law, and especially Hungary's opposition to sanctions on Russia have set the stage for this realignment. Public protests and heated debates in parliament have underscored just how divisive this path has become within Hungary itself. While most of Europe has largely united against Russian aggression, Hungary has positioned itself as a neutral actor, seeking to be a bridge between East and West. This balancing act is both a diplomatic gamble and a strategic calculation. This stance has increasingly isolated Budapest within the EU, but at the same time, it has made Hungary an attractive partner for powers seeking to counter Western influence and expand their reach into Europe. Hungary's entry into BRICS is the boldest step yet in Orbán's decade-old Eastern opening policy. By betting on the economic dynamism and growth potential of the East, Orbán is hoping to secure new investments, trade deals, and opportunities that he believes Europe can no longer provide. It's a high-stakes gamble, potentially lucrative if Hungary can leverage its new alliances, but also risking its influence, economic benefits, and even its place within the EU. The world is watching to see if Hungary's pivot will pay off, or if it will find itself caught between two worlds. Hungary's pivot to BRICS is driven by 2 imperatives: economic diversification and energy security. As global power dynamics shift, Hungary is seeking to reduce its vulnerability by broadening its alliances and economic partners. This move is not just about politics. It's about ensuring long-term stability and growth for the country's economy and people. Budapest argues that relying solely on the EU is risky, pointing to faster growth in Asia and emerging markets. Hungarian leaders highlight that the EU's economic engine is slowing, while countries in Asia and the global south are rapidly expanding, offering new opportunities for trade, investment, and innovation. By looking eastward, Hungary hopes to tap into these dynamic markets and avoid being left behind. BRICS membership is seen as a way to access new markets and attract investment, especially from China, which has already poured money into Hungary's infrastructure and manufacturing. These partnerships have led to new factories, jobs, and technology transfers, strengthening Hungary's industrial base and making it a key player in regional supply chains. Energy, however, is the core issue. Hungary remains dependent on Russian oil and gas, and argues that cutting ties would devastate its economy. The government insists that affordable and reliable energy is essential for households and industry, and that sudden changes could trigger economic hardship and social unrest. By joining BRICS, Hungary hopes to secure these energy relationships and shield them from EU political pressure. The government believes that BRICS membership could provide alternative sources of energy and investment, making Hungary less susceptible to external shocks or sanctions. Critics warn that the benefits of BRICS may not outweigh the risks of alienating the EU, Hungary's largest trading partner and source of vital development funds. They argue that turning away from Brussels could jeopardize billions in subsidies and market access, putting Hungary's economic future at risk. The government is betting that the East's economic dynamism will compensate for any Western fallout. Officials are confident that new partnerships and investments from Asia and the global South will drive growth and innovation, even if relations with the EU become strained. It's a calculated risk, with Hungary's future prosperity hanging in the balance. The coming years will reveal whether this bold strategy pays off, or if the costs of shifting alliances prove too high for the nation to bear. Hungary's BRICS move is as much ideological as economic, deepening its rift with the EU. Orbán's government champions national sovereignty and traditional values, clashing with Brussels' liberal federalist vision. Disputes over issues like LGBTIQ+ rights and the Ukraine war have fueled mutual distrust. Hungary opposes arming Ukraine and sanctions on Russia, casting itself as a peace broker and resisting what it sees as EU overreach. Its veto of Ukraine's EU accession talks is both a matter of principle and a bargaining chip for concessions from Brussels. Domestically, Orbán frames the EU as an external force undermining Hungarian sovereignty, passing laws to shield politics from foreign influence. For his government, joining BRICS is a defiant assertion of Hungary's right to choose its own path. It's a clear message. Hungary will not be bound by Brussels rules if they conflict with its national interests. Hungary's BRICS accession formalizes years of deepening ties with Russia and China. Orbán has maintained open channels with Putin, even after the Ukraine invasion, prioritizing energy security through long-term gas contracts and nuclear projects with Russia. By joining BRICS, Hungary aims to protect these deals from EU sanctions and political pressure. Simultaneously, Hungary has become China's key partner in the EU, attracting major investments in electric vehicles, batteries, and infrastructure. Projects like the Budapest-Belgrade Railway symbolize this partnership, despite EU concerns over transparency and debt. While risks remain, such as political instability in China, Hungary's leadership is undeterred. The government believes global power is shifting eastward and wants a seat at the table where new economic rules are set. For Budapest, BRICS membership is about securing its future in a changing world order. By joining BRICS, Hungary is redefining its place in Europe, no longer just a difficult EU member, but a potential outlier. This bold move signals a dramatic shift in Hungary's foreign policy, as it seeks to carve out a more independent and assertive role on the continent. For years, Hungary has clashed with Brussels over issues like migration, rule of law, and democratic standards, but now it's taking its divergence to a new level. This could make Hungary a unique bridge between East and West, as seen in its plans to host a Trump-Putin summit on Ukraine. By positioning itself as a mediator, Hungary hopes to gain influence and relevance on the world stage, attracting attention from both global powers and neighboring countries. But the risks are high. Hungary's credibility in the EU may plummet, with partners questioning its loyalty and sidelining it in key decisions. Isolation within the bloc could mean less say in shaping European policy, and a growing sense of mistrust from traditional allies. Economic consequences loom as well. Hungary could lose access to EU funds and markets that have fueled its growth for decades. The threat of sanctions or reduced investment could put pressure on Hungarian businesses and workers, making the economic gamble even riskier. The government is gambling that Brussels won't risk pushing Hungary further away, but it's a dangerous game. Orbán's strategy relies on the EU's reluctance to fracture, but it's unclear how long this balancing act can last. Hungary's move may inspire other nationalist or Eurosceptic forces in Europe, potentially fragmenting the EU further. If others follow Hungary's lead, the unity and stability of the European Union could be seriously tested. While this could give Hungary new allies and economic partners outside the EU, it also threatens to weaken the European project as a whole, undermining decades of integration and cooperation. The stakes are enormous. Hungary's gamble could reshape not just its own future, but the future of Europe itself, setting a precedent for others and altering the balance of power across the continent. Hungary's BRICS entry is a major test for EU unity, undermining its ability to act as a cohesive global power. With a member now aligned with China and Russia, the EU's common foreign policy is fractured, complicating diplomacy and sanctions. Brussels faces a dilemma: punish Hungary and risk deepening divisions, or go soft and set a precedent for others to follow. Either path could weaken the EU, by creating a martyr, or by encouraging more defiance. The situation exposes the tension between EU integration and national sovereignty. The EU must find a way to discipline Hungary without triggering a crisis or further fragmentation. The Union's unity is under real strain, and its response will shape its future. As Hungary steps into BRICS, both it and the EU face an uncertain future. Orbán must prove that Eastern partnerships can deliver real economic gains, even as EU ties fray. The risk: Hungary's economy is deeply tied to the EU, and any disruption could have severe domestic fallout. Aligning with Russia and China brings its own dangers: dependency on autocratic regimes and unpredictable partners. For the EU, Hungary's move forces a reckoning discipline or accommodate, unity or fragmentation. The reactions of key EU states will be crucial. If they stay united, the bloc remains strong. If not, Budapest's gamble may pay off. The world will watch Hungary's BRICS experiment, and the EU's response as indicators of Europe's future direction. For now, Hungary's bold step leaves Europe wondering, is this the start of a new era, or the beginning of the end for EU unity?